What do you do if the word boring keeps on filling your mind? Well, a growing number of people are playing a game called Paintball. It has the kick of a blood sport without ever spilling a drop. Robert Osborne reports.
Move it up, move it up! Gary, out to the left, out to the left. Your left,
These men aren't training to enlist in Abu Nidal's private army, and this isn't a war game. It's just a game.
This game is ours! Yeah!
I just feel totally drained after a day of paintball. All my aggressions are out, and I feel great and good, and I can tackle Monday morning again. It's a lot of fun.
And it bounces off his butt.
You've probably seen this game before. It used to be called Capture the Flag or the War Game. Now they call it Paintball, and you won't believe how really big it's become.
In the head, you're out of there! Pinky, you're acting like a girl.
The first thing that's changed with this game is that it's become a lot more complex. Players like Mike Byers belong to teams with names like the Warlords and the Taxi Drivers from Hell, and members practice and play together at least 2 to 3 times a month.
I remember being a young boy playing Army Men more or less the same way, you know, shooting at each other in the bush and just playing the game. And it's more or less along the same idea now, you know.
But the games Mike played as a boy were never as detailed as paintball. The object of the game may still be to wipe out the other team and grab their flag, but how teams go about doing that now incorporates advanced tactics.
We're going around this way.
Pat and Keith got this side, and Glenn, myself, Larry. Is that all that's left for the middle?
Yeah.
I used to be involved in rugby, baseball, those sort of sports. I found I was getting hurt in rugby, so missing too much time off work. And, a friend of ours got us all together about 2 years ago. Come out and try war games, and we all really caught on fast and enjoyed it.
And paintball's changed in another dramatic fashion. It's no longer a grassroots operation, it's become big business.
I'd have to say a company like Wargame Products sitting on probably 1,000 guns a month is what they're putting out. And that would equivalent to probably $300,000 a month in sales. That's just one company.
Todd Farian is the Western Director of the International Paintball Players Association. He also runs one of the biggest fields in Western Canada near Maple Ridge.
The estimate has been that each player that gets into this drops about $1,000 to get involved in this.
Oh, probably, yeah. And each player you can estimate will probably, if they're playing every weekend, will drop about $70 a weekend. And that's not including fuel fees, that's just buying pellets and CO2 fills and things like that. It's not quite on the multi-million-dollar level in Canada yet, but it's definitely multi-million in the United States. Player days are estimated at about 450,000 to 660,000 player days in the United States this year.
In fact, if you really want to see how big this game's become, you just have to look south. The U.S. has fields that play up to 800 people in a single game. They have competitions with first prize money ranging up to $75,000. And some industry people estimate paintball generated $500 million in business last year.
When we first started, a set of fatigues would cost you maybe $100, and we didn't have our own equipment in those days. We would rent it from the fields we played on.
Terry McCarthy's been playing this game since the sport first started in the early 1980s. As the games become more complex, he says the demand for more sophisticated playing tools has also increased. That's good for business, but hard on the players' wallets.
Some American companies changed the type of gun we use. They're a lot more efficient, they fire a lot faster, and they're way, way more expensive. A good gun will cost you $600 to $800 now.
Canada may be a little behind in the paintball business, but not that far. We're even starting to develop our own sophisticated weaponry. Dwayne Ash and John Sinclair are a couple of Surrey businessmen who've dropped thousands of dollars developing what they think is the Cadillac of paintball guns.
This is the basic gun that it started it all basically. Originally this gun was designed for marking cattle. And instead of using water-based pellets like we're using in the game, they use oil-based so it stays on permanently.
So essentially what you guys did, you guys took that basic model and you supercharged it.
Basically, that's correct, yeah.
With this particular gun, it's quite an expensive gun, so we're hoping that the individual that takes the game very seriously and has a few dollars to spend will buy this particular gun. And where if one guy has a gun that's better than another guy, well, obviously he's got an advantage, and it's never ending. It's an arms race.
It took us about 4 months to construct this town.
Canada's not just catching up to the U.S. with our paintball technology. Our playing fields are becoming a lot more complex. Todd Ferrien's field includes a mock town.
Our jail right here is where our neutral zone is, so when people get hit, they actually go into this jail here.
Yeah.
There's even an indoor version now. This field in New Westminster is in a warehouse under black light. It belongs to Wayne Houghton. He calls his game indoor speedball, and for him, it's a full-time job.
We're not eating steak every night or anything like that, and we're not going to be retired in 3 years, but we're paying the bills. I think we're doing something good for paintball, getting it more into the public eye.
But there's a downside to all this rapid expansion. As the game gets bigger and the weapons become more powerful, there's more potential for people to get hurt.
You could sting most of the time, so you know you're hit, you check for it. Close range in the bush, you don't see somebody and suddenly he pops up 10 feet away and you can get a shot in the ear and it'll smart. It, it won't do any permanent damage or anything, but it'll give you a nice cauliflower ear. So guys are wearing ear muffs, and I wear a veil type thing over my head, and I find it absorbs it quite a bit. And that saves me, and with the face mask and the goggles, there's very few spots that are exposed usually.
Players wear safety goggles to protect the eyes, and most playing fields try to enforce some standards of safety. But even Todd Ferrien has concerns.
One of the biggest problems is muzzle velocities of these guns. They're all the guns work on spring tensions. So spring tensions can be changed. And when you start monkeying with your spring tensions, velocities can go quite high. Goggles, being polycarbonate, can only withstand so much impact.
Since Ferrien belongs to the International Paintball Players Association, he has to comply to an extensive list of rules with a comprehensive section on safety. Every gun used on his field has to be tested to make sure the muzzle velocity doesn't exceed the recommended limit. Ferrien also refuses to allow anyone to bring their own ammunition onto the playing field.
Pellets can be treated, and people can do things, really scary things, like put nail polish on them. They can treat them with dry ice, harden them like marbles, and all kinds of bad things. So operators have to be aware of these type of things, and they have to be looking for them as well.
The big problem, it seems to me, is how do you make sure every single field is complying with IPPA regulations?
Well, you'd need government regulations, and to lobby in the government, as we all know, to put a bill together is not an easy process. The best thing I think that in Canada we can hope for is perhaps piggyback legislation on something like the whitewater rafting bill.
I'm hit!
And paintball players are also worried about their image. They say the fatigues give the sport a martial image it doesn't deserve.
In that case, I look at it as an anti-war game. People get a chance to experience in a fun, desensitized nature and realize that they wouldn't want to be involved in a real war. Because if it's real, you're dead, and you only die once.
The paintballs hurt a little bit when you get hit, and that gives an edge which keeps the adrenaline rushing, and it's a real exciting game to play. It really is.
Like I say, our team's just starting to get better now, and I'd like to see us go down to the States to a major competition in the next year or two and hopefully do quite well.
For those who thought this game was a passing fad of the early 80s, more news. Paintball representatives are approaching Olympic organizers in Madrid with a request to have paintball as a demonstration sport. Paintball is definitely here to stay.
What's your wife think of this?
At first, like I say, she was just, she thought we were all warmonger crazy going out in the woods, but she realizes now it's not like that, and We're in it for the competition and the good fun, like weekends like this. That's what I really enjoy.
For Pacific Report, I'm Robert Osborne.
Please stay with us. Pacific Report is back right after this break.